You are listening to Blockchain Asia podcast hosted by Coco Key. She brings to you illuminating and inspiring thought leaders from Asia's blockchain and crypto ecosystem. This is the go-to show to understand Asia's impact on the innovation and uncover market opportunities. If you like the show, subscribe to it and tell your friends. Also subscribe to newsletter Blockchain Asia at Substack to stay informed.
Jupiter, thank you for joining me today. So happy to have you. And it was wonderful to see you and the team last December in Singapore. So I hope you're doing well.
Thanks for inviting and nice to be here.
I want to set the stage for today's conversation by starting with your background and highlights of HashKey Capital. So tell me about yourself and HashKey Capital.
Sure. I joined HashKey Capital 5 years ago, in 2018, from a traditional equity broker in Hong Kong. Back to that time, I was responsible for the Hong Kong TMT stock research. That is the last peak of Bitcoin price, reaching 20K at the moment. A lot of people, including me, got quite interested on what's going on. I took a deep research into Bitcoin. I found it quite interesting. So I transferred my career from traditional finance into crypto. And I wrote a report regarding the Bitcoin blockchain in early 2018. One of the earliest research reports regarding Bitcoin issued by traditional brokers. My head, DC, find me through this report. That's the reason why I joined HashKey at that time. Bitcoin and crypto is evolving very rapidly. Many people back to that time finding it's very promising. Not only me, but from other guys from TradeFi jumping the rabbit hole from the TradeFi. I have been here for more than 5 years. I was a research lead in HashKey Capital and also lead the liquid fund business in Hong Kong as we acquired the license in Hong Kong in 2022 for the virtual asset management. We can using this license to issue a fund to manage 100% portfolio devoted into virtual asset. I have the traditional background and also have the license, so I transmitted myself from research to lead the liquid fund business. HashKey Capital was starting with VCs. It's the biggest crypto VCs in Asia and also globally. And we are expanding our business from VC to asset management. And we see not only Hong Kong, but also in Singapore, US, Europe, more and more crypto-related products has been issued. The milestone would be the US approval, the spot Bitcoin ETF. And that means a lot. Bitcoin can go mainstream, investors can invest into Bitcoin without any bottleneck. It's a total regime shifting. That's why I think the trend is very promising. A few years ago, I was also estimating that crypto will be going mainstream, but not in this way. But this is higher than my expectation. It's a good thing to see.
Bitcoin spot ETF approval in the US definitely is the milestone, as you pointed out. And for you, it is amazing to see you move from TradFi into crypto research, and now you are in charge of a liquid fund for HashKey Capital. And this asset class just provides you wonderful opportunity for career. Before we dive into the new liquid fund of HashKey Capital, can you explain in a very simple way what a liquid fund is?
Okay. So the liquid fund is quite simple, as we can compare with a traditional equity investment fund or fixed income investment fund. The underlying you invested is liquid. So it's all in the secondary market. Just it's equity or fixed income. Now we can add in Bitcoin or other kind of crypto asset into it. The methodology and the management style has not been changing. For example, as we apply the license from Hong Kong regulators, we explain our liquid fund quite similar to the traditional equity fund, just did not invest into equity, it's invest into liquid secondary market tokens. I think that's the only difference. And I think there are many investment strategies for equity like arbitrage, CTA, fundamentals. All this can also be applied in the liquid tokens investing in crypto world. So much the same. And just the difference is that when you saying the fundamentals in equity, DCF, PE, PB, cash flow in the future, discounted cash flow, something like that. But for tokens, I think majority of tokens, some protocols, they already have cash flows. But for other protocols that don't have very obvious cash flows, but they can create values other than just cash flows. So what they mean fundamental investing maybe mean different terms. That is the only difference I see between equity and the digital asset.
I want to know your team's thought process behind the launch of the liquid fund, because you already have VC funds. Why did you want to launch this liquid fund in addition to the VC funds? Because you're doing very well with the VC funds. You raised 3 rounds. So what is the thought process?
Yeah, I think for the investment in crypto, there are different ways. The VC is more for the early stages, angel round, round A, round B. But we cannot neglect that the crypto has a nearly $2 trillion liquid market. So that is something that also will create values for the institutional investors and the traditional investors. Even though the cryptos have a secondary market, that doesn't mean that the project behind the tokens has been mature compared to the traditional equity project. I think that there will be some stages differences. For example, even though they have the liquidity, they have the tokens, but the stages they are facing is still kind of early compared to the equity. For example, if you got a round A or round B project in cryptos, maybe it's just an angel round or strategic round in equity projects. So even though they have the liquidity, the project still have a lot of potential to grow. That means their growth rate might be higher than the traditional equity when they got listed on some exchanges. If you look at the market cap, I think the top 50 tokens threshold would be around $2 billion. Very small compared to traditional equity market. That means they have a lot of potential. Our methodologies invest into liquid tokens, leveraging our VC's insights, because we see it is a VC market with early liquidity. That's the only difference. Our VC methodology can be also useful in the liquid market investment. So our methodology is quite simple. We leverage our VC strengths and insights. Our VC have been building a matured connection network in cryptos for many years. They have information advantages, they have research advantages. We can build a more matured product for the traditional investors. So that's why we expand our VCs to liquid. Combined together will be thorough for the investors.
And how are you going to generate alpha for this liquid fund? What is your secret ingredient or your strategy?
Talking about alphas, they always compare to beta, right? But in crypto, there's no standard data. For example, in the crypto equity market, we have a lot of indexes created by big institutions. But for cryptos, there were some indexes, but the market has not recognized them. So now, if we really talk about the beta, people always think about the Bitcoin or Ether. Depends on what's your favorite and risk appetite. You can choose Bitcoin or Ether Bitcoin combined as the benchmark. So if you think that would be the benchmark or the beta, the alpha would be coming from ecosystem. For example, one of our strategies is to invest into the ecosystem of Ethereum, for example, layer 2 liquid staking. I think Ethereum will be amazing in the next few years, and its ecosystem will be growing stronger and stronger. And the most prominent sector in Ethereum would be layer 2, DA layers, liquid staking, rate staking, gaming, something like that. Because they are small compared to the Ether, right? So if Ether going to very big, Ether need them to support the whole ecosystem. I think they'll be generating alpha compared to the Ether. Ether itself can be seen as a alpha compared to Bitcoin. If you compare in that, we invest into different small sector or subsectors or Ethereum or Bitcoin, well, that will be generate mechanism in the future or in this cycle. Yeah.
My understanding is your liquid fund will also invest in altcoins besides Ether. And
yes.
if that's the case, how are you going to manage the risk of these relatively smaller market cap tokens? Because they are way more volatile, and also there are some regulatory uncertainties. If you want to make money out of these tokens, you may have to time the market and get out before the cycle ends.
To control or to manage the risk, I think we have different ways. The first is we have strict restrictions regarding which kind of tokens and how much can be invested in our portfolios. For example, as this fund is being reviewed by Hong Kong regulators, our investment regime would be within top 50 tokens. So it's not top 500, not top 200, it's top 50. So top 50 is comparably safe. These tokens have come into places more than 2 years, at least 1 year. Been tested by the market for at least 1 year. For these tokens, besides Bitcoin and Ether, each individual tokens we have investment restriction. We cannot invest into more than 10% of our portfolio AUM. So that will be control the whole risk. Ether and Bitcoin, we can invest in more, but for others, we have a restriction. So it's quite similar to the traditional mutual fund investment style. For these tokens, we got deep research regarding their ecosystem, their users, their utilities. At the beginning, when we invested, we have full confidence that at least from fundamentally perspective, it's safe, no flaws, or we will not invest into some tokens without any fundamentals. So that will be giving another layer of safety. Talking about timing, we are not only doing fundamental, but also have models for quantitative method. It's a term called quantamentals. So combine of quantitative method and the fundamental method together. So we are using our quantitative models mainly for timing to see the market cycles. And we are also subjectively looking for the liquidity condition and the situations, looking at the CPI, the inflation, the Federal Reserve policies. That will give a lot of more information regarding how to make the right time, right way. We will be adjusting our positions according to the liquidity conditions or according to the inflation conditions. We have adopted many ways to manage the risk. Yeah.
That's very helpful because you are going to use technical and fundamental, all these tools to decide how to time the market. Also, you have your own criteria and vetting process. You have a capping of percentage in the total AUM. Do you look into all the data on chain when you vet token, or just use market cap as criteria in screening?
The market cap is a restriction as we can only invest into top 50. So that is hard restriction. And for others, and for example, TVL is one of the dimensions that we'll be using when consider to invest into a token or not. So TVL is kind of on-chain matrix, right? We're also adopting other kind of matrix like transaction volume, active users, or the smart contract deployed within a time range, something like that. So I think we will adopting different metrics. For example, if you're using TVL, you need to compare with market cap or FDV, right? So that'll be a relatively reasonable parameters to cover within some risk. For DeFi, they always use TVL, but TVL means your business volume. When TVL is high, that means your activity on DeFi is very active. For the vetting process, we adopting different metrics and dimensions.
How about funds fee structure? Is there any minimum investment and fund setup? Is it a Cayman fund?
Our fund setup is quite similar to the traditional Cayman fund. We adopting Cayman SPC structures, and we have different classes. We have class A, class B. Class A is just like the fee is 220. Class B is the fee is 110, half of the Class A, and that is catering for the investors who want to invest a lot with us in early stages. We have some kind of soft lockup here, some exiting gate settlement for that. It's quite similar to the traditional hedge fund. As a crypto fund, we engaged Big Four as our auditors to make sure that our fund, all operation activities in our fund is clear and transparent for the traditional investor. The structure is quite similar. Only the investee will be the crypto rather than the equity or fixed income.
There is no lack of crypto funds out there. What is unique and proprietary about your offering when you go out and approach potential investors?
And I think one of the common approaches we're using is not all the other funds in cryptos have been running for so many years. HashKey Capital has been in these places for more than 6 years. It's a record that not too many players can achieve. It means we have the track record, the experience, the investor network. That is something made us different from other funds. I've heard that many players are issuing liquid fund in digital asset. For us, compliance and regulation and systematic risk control system is our priority compared to other liquid funds. As we can see from 2022, 2023, a lot of institutions, they have problem not just because of the market risk, but also because of operational risk due to the lack of regulations or reviews by the regulators. For us, from day one, we want to build up a very regulated digital liquid fund. This is our mindset.
Who are your target investors and any jurisdiction restriction? For example, can you accept investors from the US or Europe, or you only open to Asian investors?
Currently, we are mainly open to Asian investors. For US investors, we can open for that, but the issue is that US investor tax structure would be quite different from the ones in Asia. If we accepting US investors, we need a dedicated force to solve the tax structure for US investors. So currently, we don't have that resources to deal with, but we can think about in the future. And now we are mainly focusing on investors in Hong Kong or other places in Asia who don't have restrictions to invest into cryptos.
Are mainland China's institutions allowed to invest in your liquid fund?
That's a hard no. We cannot limit our services to mainland institutions.
So I understand that to operate liquid fund in Hong Kong, you are required to have license, and HashKey already has the license to operate in Hong Kong. I just want to confirm.
Yes, also I'd like to mention our whole group. For HashKey Group headquartered in Hong Kong, we have 3 kinds of licenses. The first is licensed for the exchanges. I think HashKey Exchange would be the only 2 licensed exchanges in Hong Kong now. We see other more than 15 applicants pipeline, but now only 2 licensed exchanges in Hong Kong. Also, we have licensed, I would say, brokers doing something like facing traditional investors, providing some crypto-related services. The other ones is HashKey Capital. We got the crypto asset manager license. So basically, HashKey Group has got all the required license to operating asset business in Hong Kong. Yeah, the license, there are 2 layers for the companies. Another is for the representatives. For me, for example, yeah.
So that means not only the company need to have the license, but employees working for a particular fund also need to be licensed.
Yes, that's a parallel process. When we apply for the license for the company, the employees or representative are also in the same application process. So when the company got license, we got the license.
Do you see Bitcoin ETF will become your fund's competitor? Nowadays, the Bitcoin Spot ETF makes it much easier for institutional investors to have exposure to crypto. And that, especially the US Bitcoin ETF, has sucked in quite some capital from all over the world. Do you see them as a competitor?
Bitcoin has been here for many years. For ETF, I see more opportunities rather than competitiveness. People invest into Bitcoin just because they have much bigger potential than the traditional asset class. But if they find other altcoins have even bigger potential than Bitcoin, they will shift interest into that. So that will be marketing or so-called education for the investors. When we're facing traditional investors, we need to explain what is altcoins. There's a lot of back and forth process. But if the traditional investor is shifting from equity fixing into Bitcoin, there will be chances that we're shifting from Bitcoin to Ether or to other coins. There will be more and more people get to know cryptos. That is potentials that crypto market as a whole will be recognized by mainstream and by the Ethereum investors or even retail investors. So I see more chances here.
That's actually a good point. Bitcoin ETF opens the door, at least crack the door open and let people see what it is about and give it a try. And once they understand more, they want to try more and expose to other tokens. I also noticed that HashKey Capital launched 3 crypto indexes. Anything unique about these indexes that you want to share?
So I think in the future, when the crypto market has been matured and recognized by institutional investors, they will be finding some passive fund to join that will give a lower fees and can give you the beta style return or beta plus kind of return, much more flexibility. So that's why we build up 3 indexes for the Russell. We want to issue 3 passive funds according to these 3 indexes this year. So I think given the bull market has been here, investors will take a look at how to join the market, not only with Bitcoin, but with other coins in a more legit way. Yeah. And I think, for example, one of our index is top 20 tokens index. So it's just a market weighted, similar to the traditional equity index. If we try to seize the opportunities in other coins, there will be choices. And also we have some sector index like infrastructure indexes, application indexes. The investors see the value in applications or infras. They don't need to pick which kind of tokens to invest. They just pick a portfolio, and that portfolio is built up by HashKey and FTSE Russell. And I think there are different mindset between investing to active fund and the passive fund. Learning from traditional finance, especially after global finance crisis in 2008, the passive fund growing a lot. That trend made BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco the biggest asset allocators globally in crypto world. They built the next steps ahead to test waters, and we have confidence that this passive fund will be enjoying the bull market.
Try to understand a little more. Do you mean that HashKey Capital will also launch another fund based on these indexes?
Yes, this 3 fund will give us the dry powders to launch 3 passive funds this year.
What is the time frame? Are you going to launch it this year?
Yeah, this year. After the regular approval, we'll launch accordingly.
Right, good to know. My next question is, what is your personal read of the market? Because we talked about that when we were in Singapore. So are we still in the bear or already in the bull?
I think already are in the bull. So Bitcoin has been rising. I think we met in last September in Singapore when Bitcoin was K. Now it's K. It's hard to say it's still in bear market with such a return in just 5 months. So I think it's definitely a bull market. And we are very optimistic regarding this year. The return in crypto will be, I won't say be huge, but I will say significant compared to other asset classes. And one trigger will be the spot ETF. That's not just a milestone, but also will involve many fund flows from traditional investors. As we see, the spot ETFs have been welcoming more than $5 billion net inflow in just 1 month or more. In long term, more money will flow in. That will be one of the drivers for Bitcoin and for cryptos market as a whole this year. Yeah.
It's amazing how much capital flows into the ETF. I want to ask you about Hong Kong. Is Hong Kong going to launch Bitcoin Spot ETF and ETH Spot ETF soon?
I think Hong Kong will launch a spot ETF this year. I assume most of the issuers or many ETF managers will issue the BTC ETF rather than Ether ETF or BTC plus ETF combined. Maybe they will think about other kind of next year, but for this year, BTC would be a safe play.
What is your read about Hong Kong when it comes to crypto digital asset? Hong Kong and mainland China stock markets are having some correction. Do you think that would be actually a positive impact on the crypto market in Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong has embraced Web3 and crypto in late 2022. It's a whole policy regime shift from traditional industries to the Web3. I see not only Hong Kong, but also other places in Asia seeing opportunities in Web3. So Hong Kong, they already introduced licensed exchanges 4 years ago. So it's not surprising that Hong Kong embrace crypto and Web3. I think they'll be introduced startups, many talents, and even money from investors into Hong Kong. You're right that the stock market, capital market is not performing well. The policymaker will find another way to boost the economy or boost traditional capital market. So Web3 is definitely a good way. Yeah.
One more thing about Hong Kong before we wrap up. I was reading some news before the Chinese New Year that the industry in Hong Kong were proposing to Hong Kong government to allow Hong Kong to open up the direct net between Hong Kong and the mainland, just as mainland and Hong Kong trading stock directly. So do you see same mechanism would be applied to crypto trading, and that will allow investors in mainland China to at least move some capital to Hong Kong within a certain quota?
Well, it's hard to say. And actually, I have no idea regarding that kind of movement. We are compliant institutions in Hong Kong, so we'll be compliant with all the requirements in Hong Kong. If there's opportunities, we can do our best. But we are not policymakers. We are just market players. We are waiting. If there's really openness, will be the great opportunities. We are waiting for that day to come in Hong Kong. I think it would be great for the whole Asian market. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
For the audience who have interest in cryptos, this year will be a great chance to know more or even get involved, not to miss the chances that we're waiting for 2 years. Chances are not always around, just seize it.
That's a good point. Where can the audience find you if they want to ask you a question?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
For Dr. Zheng.
Okay, Dr. Zheng on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
nice to talk to you. And
Yeah,
I wish
nice
you
to
good
catch up
luck
with you.
with the fund. Hope to see you or talk to you again in the near future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely looking forward to that. Thank you.